Live from New York. It's a show that has all three people here. 2.5 voices, but all
Leave
three.
Brew alone.
I'm ready to rock.
Brew, we did all of yesterday's show and didn't even acknowledge it.
What?
It was fine. We were fine. The audience wouldn't have even known Brew had
The
a
audience knew. I listened to the show.
They wouldn't have known. But if you watch the
Nick
show
looked at
With
me
the
funny a
captions
few
on,
times.
maybe.
Come on, man.
Just saying.
We,
I gotta call
we
it like
gotta
I
pick
see
it.
it.
You want me to go?
What?
Brew was motivating
I'm ready. I'm playing
America
hurt.
over the
Yes,
weekend
I know.
and heard his voice.
Flu game.
That's right.
That happened.
Yeah,
Flu game.
absolutely.
Not
Fake
just
game.
out here taking
Yeah, and Brew's
weeks
actually
off
right.
for a groin injury.
I'm not injured. I'm hurt.
Yeah,
You
that's
gotta
right.
play
It's a
through
You're
big
gonna
difference.
hold on.
I'm playing
You're
through
gonna
it.
start with that too now.
No, I don't agree with that, honestly.
That well, then why are you doing it at the top of the show? Because you know the new conspiracy, Brew. LeBron never was hurt.
I don't believe that.
LeBron never was hurt.
I don't believe
Just thought they were going to lose the Celtics
it's
game and then
always
said, I'm going to
something.
take a few weeks off. It went from LeBron might be so hurt he's out for the rest of the year to, you know what was he at? I saw him jumping at his kid's state championship game. Therefore,
was
maybe
jumping.
he's not hurt.
Is that true?
Who's
He
what?
was
true?
jumping.
Who's jumping?
At the
Not
state
really
championship
he
game?
was
Yeah.
jumping
He wasn't
around
in a
excited.
defensive stance. He wasn't trying to slow down Jason Tatum.
Start with the Lakers back on track, maybe. LeBron gears up for a return. Austin Reaves led the Lakers with 30 points in a win over the Spurs. Okay, he has been cooking. 30 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting 53% from the field and 42.5 from 3. So what does Luka's 5 for 20, but he still had triple-double, and Austin's resurgence mean for the Lake Show?
It means
triple-double.
they have a squad. And what it means is it's good news for LeBron James because LeBron does not have to go out and be Superman every night at 40 years old. Now, there will be times they need him to go get 30 or to take over the game in terms of scoring offensively. And he'll be able to do that. But he shouldn't feel like he has to go out and do that every game. And they've got 3 scorers now, and that's not even to mention Rui Hachimura, who's a good 4th option, and then Jackson Hayes, who can catch and dunk, which is all they need him to do with Luka Doncic. So I think that, excuse me for my voice, but look at this graphic, and this shows what's going on with Austin Reaves. In the 7 games, now this takes out the first 2 games for Luka, where he only played 23 minutes a game. Look at the 7 games he's played with both of them.
When he's the third
only
option
15
versus being the
points.
second option,
right?
essentially.
But,
First or second, yep.
So, look, but everybody can't just score 29 points
No.
and win or doing it efficiently on a good field goal percentage. So LeBron should understand that. Luka's obviously going to dominate the ball. He has to play that way. But let LeBron will be the first option off Luka, and then let Reaves be the next one. And he can focus more on defense and then save himself for when he needs to take over the scoring.
So I thought you were going to maybe go slightly differently, a different angle based on something you had said previously about the ways LeBron's older years could play out. Because you and I talked, 4 years ago maybe, that what if LeBron just was like, hey, I'm going to be Karl Malone.
Right.
I'm going to truly play power forward. Now, in today's NBA, you wouldn't be down on the block the way Malone was.
But you're
more out on the wing. A scorer
rebounder.
and a rebounder. And not, more of a defender than he's been when he's having to play point forward, essentially, and not as much of a distributor. Because I think that's what's going to happen. I don't necessarily think LeBron's scoring is going to go down. I think his assists potentially are going to go way down because I think that what we are seeing is Austin is more than capable of, in segments of time, running the offense. You know what I mean? Being the primary ball handler. LeBron, of the 3 guys, is the only guy that can wear a bunch of different hats at an A level. Luka basically has to be Luka. You know what I mean? For him to be good. And Austin's on a hot shooting streak, but Austin is not what you would call a knockdown spot-up shooter. But he is really good at drawing fouls. He's good at getting into the lane, and he's pretty good at distributing. And so I really do think this is going to lead to the best offense in the league in the playoffs. Doesn't mean that it'll be the best net rating in the league, because I think there are teams whose offenses might be almost as good who are better defensively than the Lakers. But I feel like, you mentioned it, a lineup of Luka, Austin, LeBron, and Jackson Hayes, with maybe you leave Dorian Finney-Smith in the starting lineup and have Rui coming off the bench. But either way, that'll be your fifth starter or your first man off the bench one way or another. And then you do have, depending on who you're playing, Vando, Gabe, Connect, and JJ seems to really like Jonathan Goodwin. And so there's your 8 or 9 guys. But Austin, I've said this a bunch. You guys have heard me say it. In LeBron's career, it has been amazing to be the second best guy on a LeBron James team. And it's been really good to be the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th best guy. The one guy who's always gotten squeezed is the 3rd best guy. Because whether it was Kevin Love or Chris Bosh or whomever, because the 3rd best guy on any given night is kind of who's open, who's hot, who has the best matchup. You don't get featured. Well, it might kind of work out if the 3rd best guy is an undrafted guy, is a guy who is proving himself in this regard, and it doesn't have the expectation of, I need to have a bunch of stuff run for me, and kind of has the outlook of Austin. And so I feel like Wilds, they've already escaped disaster of the LeBron injury. They lost those first 3, but beating Phoenix, winning this game, and I now feel, given how they've played, I wouldn't be shocked if they get a split in the 2, Denver and Milwaukee. But even if they don't, I think they can beat Denver. You don't think they can beat Denver?
Well, I think Denver just rested everybody too. So whether they rested them to if Denver's at 100% coming in and wants a little bit of get back, I think it's.
Denver was at 100% when the Lakers didn't have Luka, LeBron, Rui, Dorian Finney-Smith.
I know. I felt like that was a foot off the gas game.
It was similar to what we're going to discuss later with the Warriors.
But but
natural letdown.
I wouldn't be. Would you be shocked, Brew, if they got a split against Denver and Milwaukee?
I wouldn't be shocked. It's possible. I would probably expect them to go 0-2 in that, but it can happen.
Yeah, but you seemed skeptical of what.
I just think Denver rested. They're going to come back strong on Wednesday, and then if you play Wednesday, and then you've got the Bucks. I don't know what the Bucks are doing on Wednesday. I don't have the Bucks schedule in front of me. But if the Bucks, and then you got a back-to-back. You lose the first one, you lose the second one.
Either.
Yeah.
So.
Back-to-back?
I don't know. Luka scored 45 when the last time they played. Now they lost, but
you sound like you're expecting them though to split.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I think that with Luka just had a 21-9 and 14 when he couldn't make a shot. You know what I mean?
He's gonna get numbers. He's got the ball in his hands all the time.
And so I really like how this team's playing right now. I like the depth of it, and I like the fact that it seems like LeBron's going to be back within.
You guys are
7 or 8 days.
Thrilled.
Okay. That's what I thought you were skeptical of. Optimism.
I think you're overstating a few of these games.
You lose to Celtics, Nets, and then you lost to Milwaukee and Denver. You beat the Suns, who are not good, and you beat the Spurs, who are not good.
Okay, so
and then you got Denver and Milwaukee back-to-back. So you're going to come out of this, say, hey, we went 2-8.
Well, they're not. Hold on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
hold on.
7, 8.
The Celtics
2-6.
Hold on. The LeBron got hurt in the Celtics game. So the 10-game stretch that we talked about was post-Celtics game. That loss was already there.
Okay, but I'm saying they still lost the Celtics game. At full strength, they lost the Celtics game. They're going to lose that game.
Right, but when we said that the goal was to go 6-4, that was post-Celtics game. And so I think that is now still.
The goal was 6-4.
6-4 if LeBron missed 10. When we showed their schedule, if LeBron missed 10,
now they're 2-4.
They're 2-3. They're 2-3. And I thought maybe I'm
6-4.
Okay, I think that if they get a split in Denver and Milwaukee, then because their next 3, I think it's Chicago, Orlando, and then Indiana. I think 6-4 is on the board. I thought the Denver game was wildly encouraging for the role players. Incredibly encouraging that they had 2 of their rotation players, and it was a tie game with 30 seconds.
All right, we'll talk about Denver in a second. We'll head to the Bay, where Denver dispatched to the Warriors. Denver was missing players. Steph was missing shots. No Jokic, Murray, or Brown. Steph makes 6 shots, misses 15. Okay, Brew, your reaction.
Steph denied that.
Yeah, Steph said his back was hurt.
He said it was the back.
Different excuse.
What Kerr's looking at is the last 5 games, though.
Yes.
Steph shooting 43%, 32% from 3, 23 points a game. So a jump shooter missing shots, you look at the legs, he's tired. I don't know if he is, Larry. That's a horrible loss. A horrible loss, especially when you're in a race. Lucky for them, Minnesota lost as well. Or they'd be in the play-in right now.
Right, and also Minnesota lost to a team that also wasn't playing its best player. Because Halliburton didn't play. But it wasn't as bad as sitting out
look, this
the
happens.
2 best players.
I mean, this happens in the NBA, where you're up for a game and you see, wow, their best players aren't playing, and you have a natural letdown. All of a sudden, you find out you're in the game and you can't get it going. It looked like they might get it going midway through the fourth when they came back, and then Denver answered, and then it was over. But what it showed as well is where Golden State is vulnerable, and that is inside. They were out-rebounded by like 14, and Aaron Gordon, who hit the 4 threes, but outside of that, he scored 8 baskets at the rim.
So 16.
And so he was big. Like inside, they're very vulnerable. Quentin Post has been a great find. He drafted 3 spots ahead of Bronny.
Yeah, he's 53.
So he's a great find, but he's a soft, shooter, finesse player. They're vulnerable inside, but it was a bad loss. I mean, I'm not gonna make too much out of it because it happens in the NBA, but it was a bad loss.
Listen, I know that we're only allowed to do this to LeBron teams and things like that, but that's 9 straight losses to the Nuggets, this one without Jokic and Murray. So I don't know if Michael Malone has any daddy comments he'd like to make or whatever, if that's just reserved for, not guys who are top 10. Well,
it might be reserved for playoffs.
Well, maybe. I mean,
this was a regular season game.
Yeah, but but it's 9 straight, and it wasn't all for the Lakers when we were counting the things, when we were calling a regular season game a must-win. That wasn't just the playoffs. But as far as Steph's side of it, listen, you've kind of seen this coming over the last few games, to your point. Like, he had an unbelievable February and has cooled a bit, you know what I mean, in March. But he turned 37 this week.
Right.
And that is pretty typical. It is, though, as Bruce said, a horrible loss and a costly one. Just because Minnesota lost, you can't, I'm not saying you were.
It just helps a little.
It helps a little. But, man, when you look at their schedule and when you look at how I think this is going to fall, with them so hot, it was like, man, they could climb to the 5. Right now, my money would be on them being the 7. And by the way,
they're not getting 5.
They're not getting 5.
That may have cost them a chance to get 5.
And I think Minnesota, Steph's not going to play tonight. They play Milwaukee. So that means Milwaukee's not off a back-to-back because Milwaukee plays tonight and then Thursday. And Minnesota's next 2 games are against New Orleans. And so I think Minnesota can catch them. And, I mean, they're almost tied right now. And, by the way, that 7-8 would be against the Clippers. The Clippers are 3-0 against the Warriors this year. And with Harden playing the way he's playing, they're a dangerous one-off team. The Warriors, I would be absolutely shocked if they're not in the playoffs. But I also think it is important for them I think it's important for everyone not to be the 8 seed. I do not think you want to see a rested Oklahoma City in round 1. And when you're talking about Steph being tired, I think it's important to avoid the play-in just so you get that extra 5 days off. You know what I mean? That's
And the play-in, the format of it, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Now, when you're the 7, I don't think any 7 seeds ever not made the playoffs. I
think that's also when it's like you said, the Clippers are a legit opponent.
The Clippers are a legit opponent, and I just think Minnesota's going to catch them. And I think Minnesota's going to end up being the 6 seed. Minnesota, as great as Golden State had been for a month, Minnesota was right there with them, right? And so I think that's a loss you just can't have. Right. You really can't.
While I was out, you guys took an opportunity to diss my former team, the Denver Nuggets, Aaron Gordon.
You've been dissing them all year.
You just make them your former team. That's a diss.
No, I'm delivering harsh truths.
So when we do it, we're dissing them. When you're doing it, you're delivering truths?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
It's like how you can talk to your sibling, like, hey, you need to step up. But if a stranger says it, like,
they're not
watch
your
mouth.
sibling. They're a team you liked for 2 months and then gave up on.
Still.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Aaron Gordon had 38. Russ had a triple-double. Aaron Gordon said Russ is not just a dog, he's a wolf.
How about that?
He is.
He's trying to believe in Denver.
I mean, I've always, even yesterday when we talked about it, I moved to Golden State ahead of them. I'm not writing them off. Like, I think it's the OKC, the Lakers, Golden State, Denver, those four. And Minnesota's hovering. But those are the top teams in the West. And yesterday was great because, one, it let the starters see how we should be playing. Like Michael Malone will be able to say to his guys, that's how we need to play with that type of fire. And then, two, as you said with the Lakers, and this was in a win, it gives those role players, those bench guys who don't get many minutes, they played yesterday against a former champion, a playoff team, and they held their own and beat them. And so maybe if you need any of those guys, they should be able to play better or play with more confidence. So it was great for Denver. I'm not writing them off anytime you have Jokic. And the key, too, is Aaron Gordon. And obviously he's not going to get 38 points. But he's been out a lot of these games they've lost. He's been out 6 of the last 10. They're 3-1 when he's played, 3-3 when he's been out. So they can't win the championship or even get to the finals without Aaron Gordon. So him being there is huge for them.
So I think a couple things. I think one is the other thing you saw in this game, and he has earned kind of a pass on this, but one thing that helped Denver was they were better defensively in this game, and one thing that has hurt them this year is Joker has taken the year off from playing defense. Now, he has shown in playoff runs in the past that he can amp it up and not, he's never going to be a dominant defensive player, but that he can not be a net negative on that end. This regular season has been probably the worst defensive year for him and for the Nuggets, by the way, since he's been an MVP caliber guy. So I think that, and he said he doesn't believe in a playoff gear, but he kind of needs one on that end. And again, I don't really blame him. When you've won 3 of the last 4 MVPs and you've had to carry them offensively, I get that. I do worry about Denver. I don't have it quite like you do, Brew. I would separate the Western playoffs into 4 groups of 2. I would have Oklahoma City and the Lakers in the same group. I know you think that's putting the Lakers too high. That's fine. That's where I have them. I think Luka against that team and LeBron against that team is going to be a real hard matchup for him. I would have Denver and the Warriors in the next tier together. I would have Memphis and Minnesota in the next tier together. And I would have the Rockets and the Clippers in that bottom tier. I know this morning the Rockets or this afternoon are the 2 seed, and it sounds dismissive of them. I think we're talking about the Oklahoma City's
I think that's accurate, yeah.
I just think I think everyone at this table would be far more surprised with the Rockets making the conference finals than losing in round 1. And that's not it. By the way, it's a successful year for them no matter what. But so I put
Minnesota in that group though with Denver.
With Denver, okay, just because of what they did last year and how well they're playing right now, that might be fair. My real worry about Denver is, last night notwithstanding, man, I really like their starting 5. And I don't really like much else about the team. I think that if we're going to talk about playoff Jimmy in a good way, which we should, playoff Russ in the opposite way has been for years a real thing on every team he's been on. And then after that, because Russ has been important to him, it's Strother, it's Peyton Watson, it's Zeke Najee, it's a bunch of guys who you just have no belief in. So I do like Murray, Brown, Gordon, MPJ, Joker. But then after that, I just don't know who coming off the bench you're going to feel good about. That's why
That's right.
I have a real, and it's a weird day to talk about that because their bench guys just won a game. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.